up, guys? Welcome back to Life on the Wrist. I hope you guys are doing well. Sorry for the hiatus last week on all of our social medias. We just took a little bit of a break, but we are back this week. We're filming. I know we released the past couple weeks. We released 2 videos a week. We're back up to our 3 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. So I'm looking forward to creating those videos for you. I hope you guys are staying safe with this whole coronavirus, COVID. I'm going around. I hope you guys are washing your hands for 20 seconds. Be sure to just think of this in a science way. The disease will be continuing to be spread if you don't act responsibly when it comes to being clean. So just consider that and don't go outside if you can. I know it's weird for me to be saying, but enjoy your watches inside. So today we're going to be discussing the Swiss watch exports for the results for February of 2020 were released. They were in line with what I was predicting in our last video. So we'll do a little bit of a summary of the results from January and then give you the results for February and what we think is going to happen in March. But before we get into that, and I say it every single video, be sure to smash that like button for us and subscribe to our channel. It really does help us out. And with that said, let's get back into the January results. So January 2020 was actually a really great month. It kicked off the year of 2020 on a good note for Swiss watch exports. Watch exports rose 9.4% year over year, which, you know, the export totals were 1.8 billion Swiss francs. So a really positive start to the year for Swiss watch exports. The 12-month moving average also increased to about 4%. So it really did start off on a good foot. Both units and value of watches sold also were fairly positive. Units did decrease slightly, but overall value of these watches did increase by about 10%, so that was really positive. And in the top markets, you saw within the top 6 markets, which make up about 50% of the market share of total exports. Of course, there were 4 Asian countries that were leading the way, and then obviously the US and the UK were there. But overall, it was a really great start to the year. Unfortunately, you know, the coronavirus had just started to spread, and at the end of the blog post as well as the video, I did predict that the coronavirus would have an impact on the exports for the month of February. You know, I think everyone kind of saw that coming, and I just wanted to make it clear that was kind of what we were thinking. So going into the results for February, they were very much in line with what we were predicting in the last video. So because of the impact of the coronavirus epidemic, Swiss watch exports fell by 9.2% year over year. 1.6 billion Swiss francs worth of watches were exported. But this really, I don't think, fully demonstrated the effects of the coronavirus, because it really didn't. March has been a pretty rough month for both financial markets, but also for businesses in its own. So fell by 9.2%, which is a substantial amount to fall year over year. Substantial contraction for sure. If you look at the breakdown between wristwatches and other products, 8.7% were in wristwatches, and then other products were down by 17%. So a really large decrease. The 12-month moving average went back down to about the levels that they were in the month of December, so around 3.4%. So definitely were affected by the coronavirus and the lack of companies that were actually purchasing them. If you look at the materials that the watches are made in, steel watches were hit the hardest. 15.5% they were down, which is quite a substantial amount. If you look at the watches by price category, which is something I like to look at, every single price category was down, both in value and in units. So if you look at below 200 Swiss francs, 12.5% down in units and 18% down in value. Then the one that was hit the largest was watches between 200 and 500 Swiss francs. These went down by 56% in units and 53% in value. I'm not really sure why this range fell by so much. Perhaps it's because it seems like this is a range where you can kind of, I don't want to say throw money around, but it's not too much of an investment. I know between $200 and $500 is a lot of money, but it's not too much of an investment, so you can kind of have fun with buying those watches and perhaps that money just had to be directed into other aspects of people's lives. Maybe it's toilet paper. Then looking at between 500 and 3,000 Swiss francs, units were down by about 20% and value was down by about 18%. And then lastly, the 3,000 Swiss francs, above 3,000 Swiss francs were down by 5% in units and 1.3% in value. So overall, all the wristwatches were down by 22.2% in units and 8.7% in value. So they were really hit very, very hard. Then looking at the main markets, top 6 markets made up 47% of total Swiss watch exports. As the US did in the month of January, they were the largest market with 206 million Swiss francs worth of exports, which was actually a positive change for the US year over year, which came into about 18% positive. So that was rather optimistic. I will say it probably will change for the month of March. Probably every single one of the top markets are going to be down. Then Hong Kong, Japan, Singapore followed the US in places 2, 3, and 4. Hong Kong was really hit pretty hard year over year, 42% down, which is insanely, I mean, that's a huge amount when you really think of that conceptually. After Singapore, United Kingdom, as they were in the last month in the top 6. And then lastly, Germany came in at 6th, which is, we don't really see Germany in the top 6 very often. A lot of times there's Asian markets that are in there. One thing that you are missing in this top 6 is, as you probably saw, is China. China is not featured in this top 6. I believe they came in at 8th or 9th when it comes to markets, which is again a substantial decline for a huge market that the Swiss watch industry really relies on. Looking at the results for the total year, January and February combined, the top 6 markets, or let's say top 5 markets, were the US at first, Hong Kong, Japan, China, Singapore. So within the top 5, you're looking at four Asian markets in the US. If you look at the changes between 2019 and 2018, or 2019 and 2020, the US was up 16.5% so far this year. Hong Kong down 33%, which is substantial. Japan actually up 6.4%, probably buoyed by the results that they had in January. China is in 4th, which was down 22%, and then Singapore up 11%. So what you would expect for the general outcome of the year so far. If you actually look at the total variation of value between 2019 and 2020, the change is actually pretty, I don't want to say nominal, but it's only down by about 0.1%. So far, we're kind of, I don't want to say growing at the same rate, but the Swiss watch industry is essentially exporting around what it did last year, if you look at it as a whole. I think March is going to play a huge role in changing those numbers though. So we've gone over, giving you a summary of January, told you what happened in February. Now I want to tell you what I think is going to happen in March. March, we saw some serious contractions in global economies. Well, let's say global stock markets, and I think the economies are going to end up following. Once unemployment numbers come out, GDP numbers come out, all that, we're going to see the economy probably follow the stock market. There's been a lot of companies that have laid off workers, and I think that's going to really play into how the Swiss watch industry exports their watches. If people aren't actually buying the watches, there's no reason for companies to actually buy import watches from those companies. So I think there's going to be another negative result for the Swiss watch exports for the month of March. The month of March isn't over yet, but I don't think in a week the coronavirus is really going to change all that much. So I'm expecting a decline year over year in watch exports for the month of March, and probably moving average to decrease as well. So the extent to which that's actually going to happen, I don't know how large that is going to be. I'm not going to guess, because I don't want to I'd rather just let it happen, but it is kind of nice to think about. So I hope this video was helpful for you to understand what happened within the Swiss watch exports for the month of February. Month of March numbers are going to end up being released on the 21st of April, so we'll be sure to create a video reviewing those numbers with you and giving you the latest on those export numbers. If you haven't already, and I said in the beginning of the video, be sure to smash that like button for us, it does help us out. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and check out our other videos. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Most recently, we're on TikTok, so you should check us out there because we've had a lot of fun creating those videos on there. And with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time.